Hey everyone, Open is doing well, and welcome to this week's video to talk about my training. I don't really want to talk too much about the specifics of the different days. I will say that my training has been going relatively well this week as far as being able to complete lifts. I believe I had two missed snatches, but one was a hip snatch, like a hang snatch from the hip, and the other was today that was also a hang snatch, but it was below the knee. Hang snatches I'm really crappy at because it really challenges me. Um, to be more efficient because of the lessening of the pulling power. Since I can pull the crap out of it off the floor, I can often get away with subpar technique because of the amount of strength I have with pulling. But today was made more difficult by the fact that I strained my back on Friday, which was really weird because I did front squats and I didn't feel like any twinge or anything like that that would lead me to believe that I had something like a spasm or something, a tweak or whatever. Just had like my back was a little tight, and then I finished my second set of four I did that day, and my back hurt, and I was really confused. But thankfully, I was able to complete the workout that day. On Saturday, yesterday, I took the day off, and the only thing I did was shovel snow. And today it felt better, so I went and tried to warm up, spent a lot of time massaging and doing stuff before, and I was able to do all the lifting. And I think a big thing is that some adjustments I'm going to be making as far as my squat technique, and really things I should be doing previously, and I have done in different variations, but had a really positive effect today and had a lot of good effects. So the essential idea is to maintain my upright torso, which is something I talk about a lot, but do that really above all else. And really, the second thing is to remain tight as I go into the bottom. So control my descent more, in the sense that before I would control it till I got to about parallel, and then I would kind of dive bomb at the bottom. And I believe this would often happen by me loosening my back and then crashing and bouncing up and having to rebound into a position that was compromised, or at least in that bottom position it was compromised, or something in there. So essentially that's what I did on the day that I strained my back and had been doing on squats. And when I really focused on controlling that today, uh, controlling myself all the way into the bottom and then going up, I felt two things. One was really interesting. The other is, as you expect, my back felt good. Even though my back was still achy, I didn't feel any worse or anything at all when I was doing back squats, which is obviously ideal. I then also noticed that my IT band did not care that I was doing squats. Usually it's a little achy, but it actually felt really good. I mean, I just felt the strain in my quads, which is obviously ideal if I'm doing squats of any sort. So I'm going to continue to hammer away at squats like that and lift tomorrow and do all the things normal. I really like the programming so far. It's given me a lot of rep work, essentially, for the strength movements, which I find really helpful in what I really need to do. And I also like how it will often split snatches and clean and jerks on different days and have different variations of the movement. So I do enjoy that as well. It hasn't been too crazily intense, but it's not really supposed to be at this point. And especially with my back being strained now, I don't particularly need it. But I have had some challenging movements like the hang snatches and the hip snatches, which I believe they wanted them to be from a block, and I don't have blocks, so I did them from a hip snatch because that's something that's very challenging for me. And in general, just technique and stuff is coming along on the snatches. I generally just feel better on the program with the last programming thing that I was on. I often just felt mentally and physically just beat up, and it wasn't like, oh, my body's sore. It was just like I'm exhausted. It was just, I don't know. I just felt wore out in a sense, and it wasn't obviously optimal to perform. And now I feel more or less, I guess, a way to describe it is snappy. I just feel like I can go in and just really like be aggressive in the snatch and really try to move fast and really try to do the technique well. And same is true for most movements. And I think that's something that the program does well. It's giving me some volume on different days for squats, but it isn't having me do a heavy squat every day or heavy squat triple each time I work out, or to do mundane, monotonous, redundant work. It's has variation in it, and it has challenging variations, which is, for me, I think the most ideal thing of the programming is it's not just that it does different things, but it does different things that forces me to be focused. And then it has days that are productive in the sense that you can work on technique. Like there's We'll work out later next week where I have to do the 125-pound snatches, which I'll probably do with 135 again. But it's like 6 sets of 3, which are or 2 or 3 or whatever, and they're super easy to do because they're super light. And for me, it's really good because I can work on things related to technique. It's a kind of like an active recovery day, and I can continue to build with the different movements. Next week does kind of ramp up as far as the intensity on some of the movements. It isn't anything that's maximal, but there are some complexes such as clean plus front squat plus jerk, and I think there are some clean plus push press. So things like that, which will be good, and I think there's some power snatches. I don't remember snatch variations. I know there's a day where I have snatch push press, snatch balance, and overhead squat in a complex, and stuff like that, even if the weight's not heavy, is very challenging to do. So I'm obviously looking forward to that. I'm hoping my back continues to improve. If all indications are true, it will. Indications of how it currently has been recovering continue on the same rate, then I'll feel better tomorrow, and probably by midweek next week be pretty much good and past that. And I think if I continue to have this focus on squats, then I will continue to obviously not succumb to back issues with that. Oh yeah, I did want to mention with squatting, with the way that I'm focusing on the technique, and I think it's a concept that will be beneficial to me to do, is treating my squats in a different way. So normally I would treat them like how hard I, RPE, how hard I exerted myself if it was a grindy lift or whatever. But I want to treat it more as how well I was able to maintain my technique in terms of my torso, as well as bouncing out of the bottom. If I do that, or if my torso, caves in and I use my back too much, then I know that the weight's too heavy. I need to bring it down. And doing this will allow me to target my quads more, obviously, and also to just protect myself to overexerting myself, because I don't need to do anything more for my back. And the more I use my back on squats, obviously, the more I'm going to hurt it. So obviously not a good thing to do. So I'm less concerned about the weight that's programmed in. Today I was able to do the weight that was programmed in, but if there's a day where weight is pitching me over, then I'll just drop the weight and do a weight that will allow me to do it correctly. Because if I'm not, then I'm just not using my quads, and it's kind of pointless. It's just back work at that point. So it's something I definitely want to prevent. Had about a foot of snow in those last 2 days at home, so I've been shoveling a lot of snow, which has been absolutely boring. Well, I guess not boring, but just difficult to do. Yesterday it was like 2 inches, and today it was like 6 to 8 more. It seemed like a ton. I mean, if someone said it was 12 inches, it wouldn't surprise me. If someone said it was 8, it seemed like it was every bit of that. But I had to spend about 45 minutes today, about 15, 20 minutes yesterday, shoveling off snow from the sidewalk and the cars and stuff, which was, like I said, very difficult and kind of boring. But it was also good because yesterday I didn't lift, so I had something active to do. And today it actually served as kind of a cardio warm-up to do before I went to go lift, since I did it right before then in the morning. But kind of annoying that it was on a weekend and not on a weekday, because obviously there's no school on the weekend, so it is not going to affect me for Monday. But there's supposed to be some snow Thursday and Friday, so maybe we'll get lucky on one of those days, but I won't hold my breath for that. I will say this probably was the worst snowstorm since I've been down here for the last 3 years or so, since being back up north and at my university. It was absolutely insane. It was mostly over the night, because I don't remember it snowing too much during the day. Saturday, as well as on today, it barely snowed during the day, but that night it probably just went absolutely berserk and covered everything like craziness. And the roads and stuff, some of the parts in the morning were bad, but they actually got pretty clear because it's not too cold, so the snow is actually pretty easy to plow. They just actually had to go through the plows. It took a while for them to go through the neighborhood, but thankfully they did by the time I got back. I just had to do some extra shoveling by the end of the driveway to clear some of the snow there, so it'd be easier to get in and out. But should be school tomorrow unless something crazy happens, but there's not really supposed to be any snow until the end of the week, so kind of disappointed with that. Got to deal with the snow, but not with any of the benefits, any of the good stuff with that. But hopefully next week training goes well, back continues to cooperate, and I think that's really about it that I have to talk about. So I will talk to you all in the next video. I hope you all have a great day. Peace.